What's up, everybody? Hey, Tom Laird here, host of the Advice from a Call Center Geek podcast and founder of Expivia. For exceptional contact center outsourcing, trust Expivia. We're fully AI-driven, as all of you know, and can handle voice, email, chat, and all of your digital channels. Our 600-seat USA contact center is expert in healthcare, financial services, insurance, tech support, retail, and more. Experts on the NICE CX1 platform, we ensure seamless customer experiences. DM me or visit expiviausa.com for more. Welcome, everyone. I'm sure everyone is super excited for this. This is the first edition, the first podcast of Advice from a Call Center Geek, which is a new podcast that we are presenting out there that will deal with all things contact center, call center, technology, customer service, anything that has to deal with the call center world. We're going to discuss and we're going to talk about. We're going to try to give you actionable items that you can take into your contact center and make some awesome changes to try to help. My name is Tom Laird. I am the author of Advice from a Call Center Geek, which is a book that I wrote earlier this year that dealt with many of the topics that we're going to discuss. This podcast gives me a forum to talk a little bit more in depth, to give some more real-time, real-life stories and some good examples that I think can really help in your contact center. I'm also the CEO of Expivia Interaction Marketing, and Expivia we're a BPO, so we're a call center outsourcer. We're 100% American. We're located in Erie, Pennsylvania. We're about a 500-600 seat center, and I want to use this forum again to help you. I want to talk about a lot of the different things that contact center managers and supervisors and even associates struggle with. And how we can make the environment better, how we can do things differently, and how we can turn that call center from maybe somewhere that someone dreads to go into to something that's fun, that's inviting, so that most importantly we have really happy employees, but as important or maybe more important, we have really happy customers. So let's kick this thing off. Start this with who the heck am I? Where am I from? I used to be the head of call center operations from a call center that will remain nameless. I started there when I was very young and, started in the IT side of it. So I worked, the help desk, working on some of the programming when I was in high school and college, and decided I really didn't like the non-people aspect of it. So I, kind of asked, I guess, for a transfer or asked to go out onto the floor. So I became a rep for a while and became a supervisor. And next thing you know, I was running some shifts, and a couple years later became the head of call center operations for at the time, about at our peak, we were about 1,100 seats, about 1,500 employees. So things were going really good. We worked for a lot of financial services organizations, so Bank of America, Citibank, Chase, GE Capital, Regions, HSBC. We were Bank of America's largest outsourced USA center. So while things, on that front were really good, the economy started to turn, as many of you know, in that 2008, 2009, 2000, even 10 world. So working for banks went from, really the best thing you could do or one of the best customers you could have to one of the worst. So marketing budgets got cut. They moved offshore. We got beat up pretty good. We were not diversified enough through the types of customers and the types of business that we had. While we were diversified in the companies, but we struggled with the channel. So lo and behold, we had some saviors come in, right? We had some private equity guys that said, "Hey, you guys have been doing a great job for many years. We're going to help you get through this. No changes are going to happen." Well, as many of you can relate to that. A couple months later, everybody was pretty much let go. Everybody meaning, most of the management staff, QA programmers, enough to maybe start another company. So I pulled everybody together for lunch a couple weeks later and said, "Guys, what do you want to do? We can all go look for new jobs, or we still have a ton of experience. We have a really good reputation. We know some people in the industry now. You want to try to do this again?" So I went out and everybody kind of agreed, and I went out and tried to find some money, which, I might do a whole podcast or maybe 3 or 4 podcasts just on that. talking about the pains of that, but I was able to piece together some money over about a 1.5 year period that we were at least able to get a place, to get some workstations, to get some computers, to start up with InContact and have a great cloud telephony provider. And we started with 4 employees. So that was 8 years ago. We've grown it to about, like I said, right now we're about at a 550 seat site and look to be moving towards a 600 to 700 seat capability here in 2019. So pretty cool story, I think. I have a lot of experience over the almost 30 years that I've been 25 years I've been in the industry. I am currently on the NICE inContact ICVC board, which is their customer and kind of champion council. So any type of new technologies that are out in the industry that NICE inContact wants to put out, they kind of get our input in first. We get to be test sites for all the new technology, and also just try to help guide them as customers that are really dealing with the contact center universe and touching it every day. Try to help them, guide them into what we're looking for and what's going to be selling and what customers are going to be wanting. So, I've had a great relationship with them and have a lot of insight into the newer technologies that are out there in the workplace as well, or in the call center. So, all right, having said that, let's try to see if we can help you, relate a little bit and see if we can help your call center, just today. And what I wanted to talk about is why your call center stinks. And you might not think your call center stinks, and I guess there's relative, I don't know, some stink more than others, right? But a lot of you struggle, and I know a lot of you have pain points that are out there. So when we get called in here at Expivia to either consult, or if a customer wants to outsource, there's pretty much 7, I don't want to call them deadly sins, but 7 things that are really prevalent into when we see they're having struggles. So let's talk about some of these and see if you can relate, or if some of these kind of resonate in your call center. I would assume, because even in mine, I have a couple of these issues. Everybody has a couple of these issues, but I would assume that some of these are in yours as well. So the first thing that we question, when a customer comes to us is, who has the say in the customer service call center if they're looking to outsource their customer support? So that's another thing. We do a lot of different call center work, inbound, a little bit of outbound, more customer base, email, chat, all that. But, let's focus so much, just on that customer service voice and those types of channels. So, the first question is, who's running the call center? Who's the squeaky wheel that everybody has to make sure that they're pleasing, right? Is it the finance department? Is it the guys that are paying the bills? Is it the marketing department? Is it the sales execs? Who's the dominant personality in this that kind of drives, what the people who are running the call center, what they're trying to do. So the first thing that we see is a lot of times when the finance people, right, when the people who are doing the reports, who are paying the bills, who are looking at all the money coming in and coming out, when they have the say, the customer really, really takes a tough rap, right? High service levels, they don't mean that much. What does mean things is handle time. How many calls are you taking? Are you getting any sales? We need to make sure that we're on calls, we're answering calls. Break time and lunch time and really watching over the reps with a very firm hand, making sure that, all the I's, the T's are crossed, the I's when it comes to break time, when it comes to handle time, all those things, take the precedent when the customer really should be taking the precedent. So if the customer needs some extra time, it doesn't matter. Right, and that poses a lot of problems, not just for the customer, but we've all been there when supervisors are trying to get people off the phone or trying to wrap up, calls or getting on after call work. That's a little over aggressive. So that's one of the things why customers and NPS and CSAT score struggle is the finance guys. The other side of the coin is the marketing guys, the marketing and the sales execs. We have a lot of marketing people who are running the outsourcing. They are mostly, worried about conversion. They're worried about upsells. They're worried about cross-sells. And we see a lot of misconnects and misconnects. I don't know if that's a word. Disconnects. When the cross-sell effort doesn't match the call that the customer's calling in on, that the selling effort and those KPIs are measured at a greater length than the customer service and the customer support KPIs. We all know the call center, and some of you might have it, that when a customer calls in for a sales, when they're going to go try to buy something, their SLA, their service level might be an 80-10 or a 90-10. When the customer support, it could be most of the calls answered within 3 minutes or less. So we see that, and we see the disconnect with that. So you have to kind of see who's running the call center. You have to temper some of that. So that's kind of one of the things that we really look at when somebody comes. So that's the first way that your call center stinks. The people who are running it, the people who are the squeaky wheel are putting their foot down a little bit too much. Number two, the second way and the second reason that we see that call centers in operations stink is the education. We say we don't train anyone. I think you train animals, you educate people. So many customers of ours rush training to get reps on the phone, to try to get that ROI, to try to get them to be able to do their job at a time frame that's too quick. So they educate mostly on what to click, where to click. They don't educate on how to talk to the customer, how to use proper language, how to delight, the tone of your voice. All those types of things kind of get washed under, or customers don't really know how to do it, and it's a little bit more difficult for them. So, one of the things that we really focus on is education, not only of just programs, but we pull our reps. Every program gets 1 hour of education that is not billed to the client, where we talk about soft skills. We talk about talking with a smile. We will record and look at sentiment from our speech analytics to make sure that every customer is getting a rep that is worthy of that company. So again, education, super important. The third way that we see customers really struggle is no fluid processes. This goes to customers calling in. Maybe there's a really confusing IVR. They get to a wrong rep. The first call resolution isn't there. They're getting transferred back and forth. The CRM is not very good, right? So you don't know why that customer has been calling in 3 or 4 times. You don't even know that they called in 3 or 4 times. The disjointedness of different departments, and we see this with a lot of larger call centers and companies. We see this a lot with the cable areas, the satellite companies. Those types of areas that they're so huge, they've grown so fast that their processes, their IVRs, nothing flows together, and there's nothing that frustrates a customer more than that. The fourth thing, which I think may surprise people, or maybe a little bit different than what you're used to, is that everybody, I believe, and we're going to do a full podcast on this, measures the wrong metrics. We are so focused on metrics like first call resolution, service level adherence, talk time, that we struggle then with what a customer really makes them happy. Get that out of my mouth. So those types of things are tools, and those types of metrics are tools that we measure to make sure our reps are in a ballpark. But the problem is too many people use first call resolution, service level adherence, talk times to justify a world-class contact center. The problem with that is that all you're doing is listening to one side of the story, and you're not listening to the customer side. So that's where NPS comes in to a certain extent, and I know there's a lot of NPS people out there that would really believe in that, and while I do too, I think there's something better now, and we have found it with our speech analytics and the sentiment reporting that goes on there. So I can tell you, and through analytics, we can tell you over the last 6 weeks that 27% of your customers calling in have had negative sentiment, have been kind of ticked off and TO'd before they even got to our rep. And then we can look at some of the keywords and some of the things that they're saying and come up with a plan that not only helps our reps, but helps the customer actually, get to the bottom of their problem. A lot of the times, it's not even the associates. It's the self-service model. It's the IVR. It's when they went to the website and the link didn't work. All those things, come into play, but you don't know about any of that if all you're focused on is first call resolution, service level, talk times, after call work, those types of metrics. So people need to expand that. We're going to talk in depth about that. But I think that that's a really important one. And, if I had to reorder these, I would probably put that as my number one thing of why, we look at and don't understand why maybe your call center stinks. Number 5 of 7 of why people's, and hopefully not yours, but probably your call center stinks is something that we have seen growing and growing and growing, and that is the dependence of self-service channels only. I am a huge believer in self-service. I think that if you have a well-done IVR, if you have an awesome chatbot that can handle, the texting aspect, if you have a really good web portal for customers to handle any of their issues, those are all great. But we're not all Facebook, we're not all Google. And Facebook and Google, you have to really, really look. If you can find a 1-800 number, it's a needle in a haystack. So a lot of startups that we see take that model and they say, I don't really want to pay, so just email me or maybe have chat, right? But for a lot of customers and a lot of companies, they're just offering self-service channels or one channel that is a non-voice channel to customers, and it's super frustrating. That's a penny wise and dollar foolish aspect, I believe. And I don't understand why you don't want to talk to your customer. There's so many things that you can do and so many relationships that you can form when you talk to your customers. You can sell them more. You can get them to engage with you more. You can get them to like you and to want to buy more products from you. So stop pushing away your customers. Stop, with this, just jamming one channel or even just a self-service model down people's throats. As you can tell, I'm not a big advocate of that. So we'll talk more about that. Number 6 is something that I hold very dear to my heart, and that's poor call center culture. And I bet you, for the majority of you, most of you would say that your culture of your contact center is not where you'd want it to be. For the other, maybe half of you, there's probably half of you that don't even know, really what that means. What is my call center culture? We're going to talk about this in the next podcast. That's going to be next week because it's something that I think is really important, and I think it's something that can give you instant gratification and instant success in your call center and can really help. So just to give you kind of a brief touch on that, here at Expivia, our culture is a sunshine attitude with an entrepreneurial mindset. And that sounds like a lot of fluff. I get it. But what that boils down to is attitude and effort. So those are the 2 pillars that we hire on. We don't hire a rep, a C-level employee, a programmer, unless they go through some things that we've developed in our HR interviewing process to really find out if they have the right attitude and effort to be an employee here. We incent, we promote, we hire. Anything that we do when it comes to giving something more to our employees or expecting something from our employees has to hit those 2 pieces of our culture. So many call centers, struggle with, should we be a loud call center? Should we be quiet? Am I looking for people who just want to work on their own? Am I looking for people who want to work in a team? All those things define your company, define your culture, define, some of the things that you really need to look at. So it helps to have a statement that you can really build have your foundation on. And then we're going to discuss a lot of those other types of topics of how do you interact with reps? How should reps interact on the floor? Is your call center fun? I bet you most of you would say, no, it's not fun. It's miserable. So we're going to talk about some of those things, how to make it fun, how to change your culture, how to evolve that, and we're going to do that next week. And the last, number 7 of why your call center stinks, and I bet you a lot of you are doing this as well, and it's poor management training. How many of you are just maybe struggling? You have a couple supervisors or whatever you call them, leads, who have left, and you have some really good employees and some really good associates that you automatically move to the head of the class, make them a supervisor, and they struggle, right? And you kind of scratching your head thinking, these people were so good, so on the phone, so well respected. How could they be so terrible? And my question to you is, what did you do to help them? It's two different jobs, right? Two different jobs. One is working in your own world, doing just your job. The second one is trying to deal with people and trying to lead people, trying to get everybody moving in the same direction. And those are two specifically almost counterintuitive skill sets that go against each other. So we're going to discuss that in depth as well. So really a lot of these topics of the 7 reasons we'll take into a deeper accord and really discuss in depth to try to help those of you who are dealing with some of these issues and try to get you out of that and try to make your call center better. So I hope you enjoyed this. This is kind of the point of this. I want to try to, again, make your contact centers better. I want to do this in an enjoyable format. I want to talk about things maybe that a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to the call center, when dealing with culture and dealing, a lot of people talk about training and they talk about how to get proper service levels and the routing. And, I want to talk at a higher level than that. I want to make your call center fun. I want to make it enjoyable. I want to make your customers like talking to you. So we're going to keep doing this. I hope that, this kind of gets out. If any of you would like more information on some of this, again, as a cheap plug, Advice from a Call Center Geek is a book that's out there. It's on Amazon. You just kind of search for it. We have a website that's coming up for the podcast as well. That will be coming here after the first of the year. But I hope you enjoyed our inaugural initial podcast. I don't know if it's good or not. We'll get better as we go, I promise. But next week we're going to talk about culture. And we're going to talk, how culture trumps everything in your call center. And if you can evolve and change that the right way, all the things that we're going to talk about down the road are going to be easier. So, again, thank you guys for listening. Again, my name is Tom Laird. I'm the Call Center Geek, and I'll talk to you next week.